Ready?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? Justin Schwarz here, content director with the DJ's Guru, with my co-host, Jason Longobardo.
You say it better every time. Thank you.
I like to emphasize those syllables, man. There's a lot of them.
Whew.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. You know how excited I am for this show today? I'm so excited.
Dude, I think... Well, first of all, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Everyone watching on Facebook, everyone watching on YouTube, on Twitch. Thank you so much.
Share.
And, yeah, share this. Absolutely. And, Jay, we are coming at our audience tonight with sponsors.
This is legit. Like, we made it. We made it.
We got sponsors.
Made it.
So, thank you, Mr. Ed Decker of Musically Yours. Sam of digitaldjgear.com. We appreciate it. And we are being sponsored tonight by that group of wonderful people in Hackensack, New Jersey. So thank you. And I want to give a special thank you and shout out to Pioneer DJ for doing this with us tonight. We really appreciate that. And it's kind of crazy, Jay, because with the DJ's Guru, our whole thing, our whole mission is helping. It's learning. It's education. And this whole story of how this show came about came from Drew, who is the product planner, one of the product planners and people behind this amazing DJM-S11 mixer that we're going to talk about tonight. Reached out to me, hey man, I see what you're doing. I love it. How can I help? And it was just so amazing that, he reached out to me about it. We talked to Pioneer, we made it happen. And here we are. And we have such an amazing show tonight because we get a perspective that you don't really get ever. I don't know where you really have gotten this before because everyone gets to see the finished product, right? We all saw about 2 weeks ago, Pioneer released the DJM-S11 to rave reviews. Everyone was extremely happy about it. Everything that you can imagine on a performance battle mixer and a progression in the DJM line. So we were really excited about that. And what we get today is we get to talk with two of the people that were behind and helped with the design of this product and the planning of this product, Mr. Drew Bach and Mr. Pulse. We're going to actually learn his real name tonight. It's a little, let that out of the bag. I'm excited about that. And they're going to talk to us about what it's like before this thing even comes out, from the time you get the call of, hey, we're doing this, man, and this is how it's going to work. And we get to hear kind of a behind the scenes process of how a piece of technology, a game-changing piece of technology for DJs gets to work and gets built and made, and the painstaking process behind that. So I think without
hold on 1 second. And the most important to that, in our little pre-show warm-up when we were talking to these two guys, they taught us how important the feedback is from the actual working DJs in the field to when it goes and gets manufactured. And to me, that was the most important thing I've heard, was how important our feedback is to when Pioneer makes a product and releases it. So without further ado.
Yeah, without further ado, we're going to bring in our main guests tonight, the main event, Mr. Drew Bach and Mr. Pulse. What's up, fellas? How are you?
Hey, I'm great.
Thank you so much for joining us. Pulse, joining us from Vancouver, all the way in Canada, our friends in the north. And we know Pulse for a long time here. Been with Pioneer DJ going back to 2002. If anyone doesn't know his story, he was just a contributor in the Pioneer DJ forums, helping people out. and the old boss over there contacted him and said, "Hey, how about you help us out? We send you some gear." And if you see behind him, we like to play show and tell when Pulse comes on because he has like every piece of like CDJ history behind him. And I want him to kind of go back there real quick and just show us a nugget that you got behind you.
Well, you know, I was trying to assemble a little bit of a museum. I don't have all my pieces here because some stuff that got lent out to my brother probably a decade ago is still in use, and I think that's a testament to how well the stuff works. Over here, I'm just going to wander. I'm going to wander out of the light, but you can still hear me. I have my original CDJ 500 Mark IIs. Those are what I began DJing with, and yes, they still play. Actually, Jay, I sent him a video yesterday. Not this Jay, DJ Jay, my compatriot from Pioneer. I sent him a video of me doing a mix, just playing around because they still work. A CDJ 700, a DMP 555, CDJ 200, CDJ 400, CDJ 350, an XDJ 700, only because it fits up there. CDJ 2000 original, 900 original, 850, XDJ 1000, CDJ 2000 Nexus 2s. And of course, you know, I don't just rock one set. I got another one there. And then, of course, you know, another setup over here. So it's... And this is the stuff that's sitting out. I want to make this wall over here my display of CDJs to power them on and have the lights on and come into this room and go, I'm a big nerd.
This is like my life, and I'm jealous of that room.
I'm gonna come and loot your house. If I have a chance, I'm coming to loot your house.
But you know, the worst part is it's the reason I've got most of this stuff kicking around is because I'm answering the questions. The guys that come into the forums, they say, "Hey, I've got an old CDJ 350. Does it work with Record Box 6?" I'm like, "Yes, but let me go and check." I pull it out, I hook it up, and I go, "Yep, here's what works and here's what doesn't." And it's so much fun. I love what I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man has been dedicating his life for the last 18 years to helping DJs with
over 20
Record
years
Box
on the forums.
Yeah, with Record Box, and that's not easy to do. Coming from someone who's been in every facet of this industry,
forums
it's not easy to do on a forum, man. It's not.
Don't read the comments. That's what I say.
It's clear. It's very obvious that the Pioneer DJ truly does care about DJs and what they're doing. Now. We have a man on Pulse's left, my left here. His name is Drew Bach. And with a last name like Bach, you have to assume he's getting into music, right? You have to assume that. So, Drew, you've been DJing for 27 years. And I learned today your original dream was to be a rapper.
Oh,
Vanilla Bach, I heard.
Oh God, no. But yeah, no, like, so I really want to be a rapper because, all right, so my brother would give me mixtapes when I was a little kid and like basically just completely shaped how I, thought of music. And like I had the dopest mixtapes, like, Guns N' Roses next to Jesus to Mary Chain, next to the Ramones, next to Public Enemy. And then one day in 92, he gives me a dub of Ice Cube, The Predator. And then he followed it up with Tupac's second album, Strictly. And I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. So started trying to be a rapper, realized very quickly that I had absolutely zero business being a rapper. But then I heard DJ Scratch on the Redman cut So Rough. And I was like, oh my God, I can do this. And ever since then, like, I just became a gear obsessive. Mostly because of the fact that the gear I could afford sucked, so I got into this because I was modifying my stuff.
Drew, did you ever tell DJ Scratch that story? Because I know you're friends with him now. Have you ever told him that?
Oh no, I'm not friends with him.
Come on.
Like, no, my boss is friends with him. I
Look him up, come on.
I know him just enough that like I can tell you every single time we've talked, but he wouldn't know me from Adam. But I've never had the balls to tell him that, mostly because of the fact that it's kind of like, I don't know, how do you like, like I would be fanboying out to one of my heroes. And I'm sorry, but like, he's one of like the coolest acting dudes ever. Like there's no like emotion like too high or too low. He's just, everything he does is just like, I don't know, just like serious yet smooth.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
He takes it seriously. Drew, you've been in the industry since 2001, right?
Yeah.
Started out with Stanton, and I've
Twice.
been through a lot, and then you started with Pioneer DJ in 2018, right?
Yeah.
And oddly enough, your first project really was the DJM-S11, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like it was one of my first projects. Because like, yeah, the Pioneer DJ is actually really different than a lot of other companies in that we very much have a no rock star mentality. Like, yeah, no, there's a lot of companies out there like in audio and electronics where it's like, you have the guy, you have the spokesperson, who's very like, I thought of this is my thing, and we don't do that.
No.
So my first project was actually transcribing a lot of feedback that we had taken on the DJM-S11 just prior to me joining. And it was really amazing because even before talking to DJs, I got a chance to see how we did things. And it struck me as really different because like contrasting to a lot of companies I worked for in the past, every single gating stage we're asking for feedback, mostly because of the fact that like, you think of something, you design something, and then you realize like a little bit later that workflow idea that you thought was so genius actually was really dumb. But if you don't have a chance to course correct, before that point, like, you put out something and then, people are pissed off and it's like, oh yeah, we might fix it, someday, but there's always other priorities that take precedent.
And on the subject of asking DJs, I just want to put to bed, I know there was this comment that was circulated a lot around the release of the CDJ 3000 where somebody said we spoke to 11 DJs. If they think we spoke to only 11 DJs for the flagship product, it was taken out of context. It was not accurate. So yeah, you can rest assured that we speak to more than 11 DJs. I probably speak to more than 11 DJs in the average day. Drew and I are both doing the same kind of stuff in running feedback past the customers. I'll actually reach out to guys like Jason and say, hey, what do you think of this idea? And he'll be like, yeah, here's what I think about this. And even if it's the smallest little nugget of information that turns out to be a massive gem, those are the ones that we will grab onto and take back and try and incorporate, because you never know where the best ideas are going to come from. And it could be a small mobile DJ, it could be your rock star DJs, but we do try to get the feedback from as wide an audience as possible.
And that's something I think that is sometimes a misconception with Pioneer, is that they come across as this huge conglomerate that is just like corporate entity, and it's really not. It's guys like you, it's guys like Drew, it's like our buddy over here, Mr. Trouble, Jay Brannon, who, this guy was doing happy hour at his house every Friday during the quarantine because he's a DJ, man. He just loves to do it. And these are the people that are behind it. And, it was just very interesting that that sometimes people don't look at Pioneer that way, but that's what they are. And I mean, it's good stuff. So let's keep this moving.
Hold on one sec. And just to jump back to Jay, not to blow smoke up his rear, but I always look to see what he's saying about the product, because he's very similar in his gigging to like what I do. So when he's out there talking about the product, I know that he's talking about it in an environment the same exact way that I'm using it. Now, the rest of you guys might be doing it differently. I'm taking in all that, but when I go out and I gig, I'm like, what is Jay doing with it? How is he using it? And because it directly corresponds with how I'm doing it. So you guys really do have it covered in every angle.
Drew, what would you say are some of the most difficult things that you have to go through? And Pulse, you can answer this after Drew, but some of the difficult things that you have to go through when you're going through this process, and give us a little bit of a background into some of the scenarios that you have to go through to, produce something like a smooth echo or a brand new feature, something like that.
Well, a lot of it comes down to prioritizing, because, you get 100 requests from 100 DJs, and like some of them really seem great, but then you realize how niche they are. Some of them are very specific, but can lead to much bigger and grander ideas. Such as like, for instance, smooth echo or combo pad mode. And then for that matter, there's always the feature that you wish you had time to add, or you're pissed off at yourself for not adding. And it's kind of like, when I don't know, like when you have product planners in literally, covering like most of the globe, because we have our product planning team in the States, we have a product planning team in the UK, and we have our product planning team at headquarters in Japan. And in many ways, you have to be an advocate for the needs of your local demographic, and fight for a feature's worth. But the problem is that not everything makes the cut, and if something doesn't make it that actually people really wanted or that would be useful, then you're like, well, maybe if we just fought harder, or conversely, why didn't we see the problem?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. When you say you talk to all these different artists, right, and you get these different ideas, right?
Yeah.
How do you essentially quantify how good an idea is or not? If it comes from like a more popular or better known DJ, do you listen to it more than someone else? Or does the idea that comes from anyone get picked up by Pioneer and then say, you know what, that's the right idea. Well, this is something that we can innovate, we can do something with. How does that work without giving away any secrets, of course? Like, how do you guys actually kind of decide, all right, we've got 5 great ideas, we're only going to do 2 of them. How do you make that decision?
Going through user requests, really, and also what problems would it solve? Like, perfect example. Like, so, I was talking about dual pad earlier, right? Like, here. Oh, of course, my camera already tilted. What the heck? There we go.
Technology.
Much better. All right. So, with dual pad mode, or combo pad mode basically allows you to actually select 2 different modes at any given time, right? So now, right there, it's a great feature, makes a huge amount of sense. But that actually wasn't born necessarily from, people saying, hey, I really want to have access to all these modes. There was actually one request, from one of the DJs that, we spoke to, who literally just wanted to be able to hit hot cues and save loops at the same time without having to change modes. And
I would use that feature. I would 100, because I've done that with 2 hands to be able to trigger the beginning of the loop with the hot cue, but then have the loop open and close.
Yeah.
All right, send me one. I'm sold.
Yeah, and it's so funny because, like, if we had just given that person what they wanted, like a mode with just those, hot cues and save loops, but not growing anymore, it's like it would have satisfied him, it would have satisfied you,
maybe
a couple
of
of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's like with combo pad mode, now all of a sudden it's like, boom, I can do hot cue and sampler. I can do hot cue and save loop. I can do hot cue and roll. I can do roll and sampler, whatever you want. And, and so it's almost like your job is not necessarily your job isn't to be the designer or the genius or the brains. Your job is to be the translator for the DJ, the translator and the advocate.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays, too, when it comes to these...
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jay. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, when it comes to the technology that we're building into these things, it's not necessarily you're solving a problem that a DJ asked for, but everybody has access to the equipment and the software. How can we be more creative? So you're giving them a new tool. So we have a hammer and a screwdriver and nail, and now all of a sudden you have a diddly bop that you just invented, and we have this new tool and they're like, I can do so much more now with this that I never knew I could do before. So, because there's only so much you could do with what we've had up until this point. So I respect that.
Pulse, what would you say would be your biggest frustration with your team at Rekordbox and the product planners regarding the Rekordbox integration with the S11 that is, built for mostly Serato users, as we know. But of course, with Pioneer having Rekordbox, we want to make sure that it works for that as well. So what would you say it was your biggest issue going through this process, since you've had a lot to do with it as well?
The expectation of parity, that everything you're going to have with Serato is going to be exactly the same with Rekordbox. And it's tough because it's not apples to apples. You're comparing products that have got different features that you can't say, yeah, this is going to be exactly the same on the other one, simply by virtue of what exists in the software. And, a DJ will say, well, how come you can't do that? And it's like the production schedule. Even if somebody comes up with the greatest idea for some new feature, you can't just go and throw it in the laps of the engineers and expect it to come out next week. We're looking at beta testing for the next version, and we've got fixes as well as some new stuff. And then you've got the roadmap for the expected changes that are going to happen down the road, because maybe a new product's coming out and you've got to integrate that, and some new feature comes along with that thing, and it becomes this rolling monster. You look at the calendar for 2 years, and then you've got people asking for new stuff because of some other thing that you're like, oh, wait a minute, now we need to add this to the mix. It's a juggling act, trying to take the requests, the suggestions, the complaints, and all of this, and roll it into a product that people want to use. And you go, okay, this isn't going to be the same on every platform. The S11 is a fantastic mixer, and we want people to buy it who are already Rekordbox fans, but they're going, but it doesn't do this one cool thing I saw. And we're like, I know it's really awesome, but we can do these other cool things too. Maybe one day we'll get to that one. So it's tough to explain to customers that it's not always going to be 100% identical. And personally, I think that's a good thing, because it gives you choice.
Yeah. Now, Pulse, we have you right now on a headshot. It's just you. You got the full screen. So I think this is a good opportunity. Number one, we found your doppelganger. You may know him. His name is Matthew Lillard. Yeah. Does anyone else see the resemblance?
That's true.
There he is.
I was saying before we started, I had changed my Facebook profile years ago to a photo of Matthew Lillard wearing a hat, and my mom commented on the photo and she said, "Where did you get the new hat?" And I'm like, "Mom, that's not me." So if I can fool my mom, I think I can pass as that. I've had kids come up to me and say, "Hey, were you in Scooby-Doo?" Because that's the era. Scream and Scooby-Doo is the era that we look similar from. We went onto the set, and I actually met him on Scooby-Doo 2, because they filmed here in Vancouver. And people were like, "Wow, yeah, I totally, like, brother, cousin, absolutely, yeah."
I love it.
He's pretty jacked now. I don't know if you've seen recent photos. He's a big guy.
The other thing I wanted to say is we have some breaking news here. There's been a little known joke in the industry with Pulse, is that no one knows his name. And he agreed tonight to share with our audience what his real name is. Pulse, what's your real name?
Don't do it.
I'm moonlighting as another DJ you might know. His name is Chris Lake. That's no, actually, I front Coldplay. My name is Chris Martin. Oddly enough, no, I do share the name with those two guys. My name is Christian.
There it is. Thank you. I love it. He did it. So
if you get an email from Christian at Pioneer, then you know who it's coming from.
That's it.
It still says Pulse. It's me. No, it's really funny, because half the people at Pioneer don't know if I said it's Christian, they would be like, who? So it's if I say Pulse, most of the industry knows me as Pulse.
Since we're talking about software, I think that we should break some news to people.
No.
Yeah.
I'll let them linger.
Tell us, Jay. Tell us.
Wait, why do I have to be the one? All of us already know this information. It works with everything Pioneer makes. There we go. Yeah, I got it.
Beautiful. I know you wanted to tell everybody.
Episode 6, we'll talk about that.
I'm pretty sure that they've already got the S11 working flawlessly. I mean, that's one of the beauty. I think virtual DJ is like the dark horse of the DJ software world, in that they're never the pageant queen. They're never the frontline winner.
We're Betamax.
They're always working in the background. There's so many working DJs, mobile DJs in America, DJs at home who are learning for the first time, getting a free copy or a pirated copy. but it becomes this fantastic tool. Virtual doesn't get a very good rep, amongst the top tier programs, but it's there and it works great with almost everything you can throw at it. So I give them kudos every chance I can because they really do a good job. I love Rekordbox for its features. I love Serato for its features. Traktor's got its own thing, but Virtual has a good mix of all of them, and it does well. So I'm not gonna look and give it any bad names.
There you have it, ladies and
well,
gentlemen.
we're gonna dive into this mixer. Before we do, let's just say hello to some of our audience out there. Again, thanks to everyone tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, and everyone watching back on the replay. Of course, we saw Mr. Jay Brannon. What's going on, my friend? Andre Rodriguez, what's happening?
What up?
I like this one. I don't know what it is, but if Jason Longobardo is talking about it, I'm listening to it.
That's my boy right there. What's up,
Jeff Bree.
DJ Jazzy Jeff, we call him.
Equals boss. Christian Colby, what's going on, man? How are you? He's got a question.
Great name.
Just Serato, or does it have a TSI for Traktor?
We don't have one officially, do we?
No. The interesting thing is that you have two kinds of partnerships with companies. You either have like the official integration partnerships like with Serato and Serato and Rekordbox. You have semi-official ones like Virtual DJ where it's like there's no official partnership, but at the same time though you have your information sharing.
Algorithm,
algorithms, a wonderful example. Traktor falls somewhere in the middle in that they will integrate when they have resources, and it kind of sucks because on one hand it's like there's been things like the XDJ-1000 is a perfect example where we wanted to have integration for a very long time, but they have their own software and their own hardware. You'll forget that. Yeah. And so if they don't have time, it's like we can't force them.
Yeah.
I like how modest you're being when you're talking about them because we all know how they are. So good job.
What's up, Jason?
No, they're great people.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
What's up, Eric? What's up, Jason? Again. All right. So I think it's time to dive into this mixer. And again, we're talking about the DJM-S11. It's the new performance flagship. And this follows the origin of DJM performance mixers, starting with the 707.
That's the dark one. That's not even the silver one.
The 909, right? And hey, Drew, you got anything you want to show us there underneath you? 909? I heard you got some show and tell too.
Uh-oh.
I do, which is actually made even better by the fact that I have the S11 SE here.
Oh boy, I love it.
Sexy paint job.
So there's only there's only 499 available for everybody, I guess.
A couple more than that, but a lot less than you'd think.
I believe it. So whose 909 was that, Drew?
Oh no, this was actually the company's. You're thinking of a different mixer, but we'll get to that.
Okay. All right. So let's dive into the features then. And we'll just start off first with, one of the largest modifications on this. And I know they spent a lot of money upgrading from the CDJ 3000 screen. And I'm sure they probably did a lot of the same types of technology and powerful chips running these things with this screen. So let's talk a little bit about the screen.
Well, so the interesting thing is the screen is different than a CDJ screen in that with a CDJ screen, you effectively have to both be able to have playback of internal songs, like say, for instance, go over here, load up a song. Right now I'm, loading up, the Serato timecode, because, Serato HID integration isn't here yet. But yeah, like right now it's broadcasting off internal, but if you hook it up to Rekordbox, it has to also play back on the screen. With this, you have to actually give, you're basically broadcasting only from the DJ software. But what's interesting is you're not just doing like just a pull from the waveform view. This is something that they have to give direct integration. So you have to really give room for the layout, that their layout requirements. Other things like, brightness, for instance, reflectivity. One thing that we got a lot of feedback on is that, if you're on stage on like for Red Bull 3 style, like you can't have a screen that you can't see under stage lights. Another thing that was really important to us was maintaining a consistent 30 frames per second. In the background, it's actually running closer to 50, but has a 30 hertz refresh rate. So you always have a smooth, 30 frames per second. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah. So. And it's one of those things where, in the heat of the moment, this thing's not going to lag on you. It's gonna perform every time you need it to. No compromise. It's not going to give you any issues at any point. I could imagine, right?
Yeah. Oh, and actually another big thing, and this is going to sound like a minor thing, but also navigation. Like, it has a home button. This seems like a really minor thing, but like, if I'm bouncing around from here, to deck 3 to deck 4, like,
actually, that's a great feature, Drew. A lot of the interfaces on high-end, expensive digital live mixers have that button, and it's critical to get back to where you need to be in one touch.
Exactly. And it's weird because a lot of products with screens, in the DJ industry, mixers, players, what have you, they don't have that. So it's like you have to bounce from screen to screen to screen to screen to be able to just get back to where you want to go. With this, you basically are within 2 touches from the waveform screen. For that matter, it's not super novel, but if you turn the browse knob, it opens up, then let it go, snaps back to the waveform screen. So nice. So if you don't want to, you actually don't have to exit out from the waveform screen at any point.
Awesome. All right. So anything else you want to tell us about the touchscreen that we should know?
I guess mainly that I think that one thing that we did really well is the decks 3 and 4 interface. What people don't realize is this is not just a 2-channel mixer. It's a 4-channel mixer in the skin of a 2-channel mixer. You have browsing directly to decks 3 and 4. You have hot cues. You have mashup mode, which allows you to do dual deck, which is one of my favorite things to show off. And you even have a full mixer. You can assign each channel to the crossfader and the headphone cue. So yeah, if you really wanted to, you could even just use internal playback and decks 3 and 4, and just DJ from the touchscreen all night without ever even touching a single knob or fader on here, which is absurd.
Wow.
No, that's not absurd. I mean, what happens if that one drunk girl spills a drink on one of the CDJs? Then there you go.
That's true. Well, I like my 50-cent words. I'll put it that way.
So we were just talking about the industry first deck 3 and 4 control, where you can play up to 4 tracks at a time from the screen, like you were just showing. Since we're on that topic, is there anything else that you want to mention and maybe talk about as far as how you were able to make that happen on the S11? Anything that jumps out at you that you could share?
Well, as far as decks 3 and 4 goes, it's really actually an evolution of something that was on our controllers prior. If you look at the SX series, going back to the SX1, you had dual deck. However, though, even though it was a well-liked feature, I don't think that DJs ended up using it creatively the way they could have, because of the fact that it ended up it ended up still being a little more work than people wanted, mostly because of the fact that you still had 4 faders. So if you're doing dual deck, so you're controlling 2 songs from 1 deck, the problem is that you still have your individual volume faders, you still have your individual EQs. And if you're doing a mashup, you want to treat it as one song in every regard. And yeah, like, there was so much back and forth in playtesting with how to make that work seamlessly, and how to make it work in a way that was fast and fun to use and could basically come off almost like a magic trick.
Well, Drew, look where you come from too. You know, the world of battle DJing. I've been at events where you've actually battled. I mean, a lot of the times during a routine, you might just have like a drum loop, not a loop, but a drum track playing for 3 minutes in the background. You could just have that live. But back in the day, we used to have to route like an iPod into a channel for that drum loop so that you could scratch over it, but then go back and forth. Now you could just have that loop internally playing on channel 3 while the actual 1 and 2 faders are live and you're doing your thing. So I get that, man. That's great.
Yeah. Well, and actually, like, you bring up a wonderful point because, you know, just from a collaborative standpoint, it's, you know, you oftentimes see DJs, you know, who, you know, they can, you know, you occasionally get DJs who actually use different hands to scratch, you know, if you're lucky. And so they're sharing a mixer, but then where does the beat come from? And with, you know, with Dexterine 4, even if you're not using dual deck, you still have the ability to each have your own side, but also have a beat playing and have individual volume and also being able to DJ with that. And you could do that on like a DJM-900 Nexus too, but that's not a battle-centric mixer.
Right, right.
This is one of your favorite features, I think, Drew, from what we were talking about. And I wanna hear a little bit about the smooth echo. And also, like, as a product planner, your job is to kind of take the gear when it's quote unquote ready and then kind of try to break it, right? And see if it's really ready to be used.
A little bit, yeah. And so, also, you know, I guess smooth echo, going back to the and
I'd love to hear like an example of it if you could.
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
smooth echo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's interesting about smooth echo was that it was designed to basically be almost like a replacement for a foot pedal. Like, you know, what DJs will do is they'll trigger echoes that are only on, like, say, like the 1 and the 4. And the thing is, like, you can hit the switch, you know, on certain things, but you only have so many hands. And, you know, even though the 909 had a foot pedal, you know, there's better ways and smarter ways of doing things. You know, so with smooth echo, you know, hold down the smooth echo button and it actually acts as a shortcut. So you have this little feature right here, a number of beats to trigger, then also how long the echo is, and then what's triggering it. Hot cue, channel fader, gate cue, silent cue, song load. If you want to, you can actually literally just load songs from the same playlist all night, and it'll actually echo out of that last track on beat of the next track. So you can do the world's laziest DJing. But
I don't know. The world's laziest DJing is pretty easy. It doesn't
it's
involve
pretty lazy,
much work,
but really fun.
Well, Drew, let me ask you a question for the not so savvy effect guys like myself. What is the difference between a smooth echo versus just a typical echo that's coming preloaded in a S9 or anything else you guys make?
Oh yeah,
like the sound, the actual sound.
Oh, it's not just sound; it's function. Oh
my God!
Well, I've gotten to see it. I'm saying for the watchers out there that haven't yet.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
This is what sells this mixer. Honest to God, this is my favorite thing.
It's insane. All right, so here I'm just gonna play a beat and do some cutting and just kind of show you. Okay.
Do it.
So all right. So if I were to say throw on the normal echo, right? So it basically very quickly becomes a mess, right? Because you have, this kind of cacophony of echoes that is building up. With smooth echo, on the other hand, because of the fact that it's triggered by how long I have the crossfader open, no echo versus
so good.
That is dope.
It's almost like it should have been called Smart Echo.
Yeah.
Because it's just the ability to change the threshold for it to be enabled automatically. It's like, it's one of these things. Why didn't we think of that? It's why wasn't this available earlier? And
well, you
why is
got
it not on
all of Drew's work
in
that one feature. Like, why didn't we think of this?
Oh, no,
because you didn't have Drew before.
That's right.
But all right, so that's the thing though. Again, like smooth echo, that was a feature that was here before I came here, what it grew into was, I think, frankly, Herculean team effort, especially going back to the original DJs who made the requests that kind of made this happen. Especially people like, for instance, Z-Trip.
I was gonna say it's got to be like Scribble and Z-Trip have got to be loving this feature.
Oh yeah, because what it originally was a much more simple interface, and then over time there were just new creative tools that were added. So like now, for instance, you can do you can trigger it with gate Q, which this is kind of fun. So you can combine it with gate Q, which is, and then if I want to say, for instance, I don't know, add reverb. So
it's like the S11 took all the things that people asked for in the S9 and just went, yes, we can do that.
yeah, it's.
Can you incorporate? Insane. Can you route the mic channel through that effect?
You can't. However, though, people will be happy to know that Mic Echo now actually has the ability to change the number of beats.
Nice.
So, whereas before the volume was actually tied to the number of beats, so basically the longer the echo trail, the louder the echo, and you couldn't just set it to be exactly where you want it to be.
Nice.
But
okay.
Yeah, but another cool thing actually about how Smooth Echo works. Are we gonna get copyright claimed? Otherwise, I can.
Music.
I can keep it.
Pitch adjust it down or up.
That's right. They're bots and that smart.
I gotta ask Mark Zuckerberg. You don't know.
All right, I'm just gonna keep it royalty free here.
Yeah, that's probably the best idea.
All right.
That setup looks dope, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Man, well, this came from. Let's see. This came from some very, very COVID-related needs, I guess you say.
It's like Jay was saying earlier. He's created his studio during COVID time.
Drew, where are you coming from tonight? We forgot to ask you.
Oh, Los Angeles, Koreatown.
Hey. All right.
All right. So let's say that like I have doubles going, right?
Ooh.
Like normally if you're rocking doubles, like it's just like doubling up snares, right? So all right, but now what you can do is you can use Smooth Echo to accent things. So if you're even doing like a record double routine, it opens it up to this, I don't know, like routines that I've done for years. I actually go back and am doing again just because they actually interest me. It's kind of like, I don't know, like if you ask Guns N' Roses to play Welcome to the Jungle for the millionth time, it's like, how do you keep it interesting?
Exactly.
And frankly, like a DJ's routines, a lot of times they're kind of like almost our Welcome to the Jungles, in that we do a beat juggle routine and we've always done it. But like with Smooth Echo added, it adds these echoes that are just perfectly accented on beat. And it's kind of like, it's a third hand that, is able to trigger echo that I couldn't physically do, which is just amazing.
I love it. All right. So we got enhanced design on this S11. So you have larger pads and you have lower latency than any of its predecessors. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the lower latency actually comes from the fact that this is actually a class compliant device. There's no drivers needed on Mac, on Windows. It's a really great ASIO driver to the point where it's borderline crazy, like, especially like how low like the DVS decoding latency is. And the pads themselves, they are much larger than on predecessor. Like, you don't really think about it until you put it next to, an S9, and you realize that these pads, basically, it's like almost like 1 1/3 larger than, on the S11 than the S9.
But Drew, the question that people want to ask about that mixer is, why was it so shiny?
Because one of my absolutely amazing coworkers, when I was asking to take an S9 home again because of COVID and needing a sample, DJ decided to leave their special skin on, their special tour skin when we loaned it to them, and I can't show who, but suffice it to say, it's one of the biggest cheerleaders of the original S9, and they'll pry it from my cold dead hands.
Speaking of new cheerleaders, Eric telling us that Mel Starr is now on the S11, huh?
Oh yeah,
and he is one of the originals.
Mel Starr is a freaking beast, and actually, what's interesting also is going back to the question about Rekordbox versus Serato on this. Most people don't realize this. He's actually using Rekordbox with it.
I helped him convert his library last August, and it was 200,000 songs of pain. Oof. Oh my god!
Yeah, and 200,000 gems that we'll never ever get our hands on.
No. He's got probably 40 copies of some songs, and it was like, why do you? Okay, I'm not even gonna ask. Just let's get them all in there. But it is great. It is great to see some of those people who have been in the industry forever coming over to Rekordbox because of 1 or 2 features that they absolutely love. So it's always great to see that.
Well, and Drew, before you get back into more of the software or even the surface features of it, is there a difference in the routing in the rear panel of the mixer? Are there any different buttons on the front? What are some of the things that a DJ could use an S9 in the pitch black, setting it up, breaking it down, and using it, are going to find different about the S11?
So rear panel and front panel are ostensibly the same for the most part, except for number one, the mic jack on the rear panel of the S9 actually had a line switch where you could take it to convert it over to line level. We found that almost no one used it. However, though, you get the tech support calls where people are like, my mic doesn't work. It's really low.
It's too low. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like they would just accidentally flip that switch. And so, since it ended up just being, removed, like it was unnecessary. No one really used it, but people had problems with it. So we removed that. We added a USB hub on the rear, which one great thing about it is the USB hub actually delivers consistent power. So if you are, say, using something like phase or, for that matter, my SR2 here, it's being bus powered by the rear USB port, which is kind of nuts. The front panel, that's basically been kept the same. However, though, the silk screening on the front has actually been more segmented because when you have the sea of knobs that you're looking at, just even having little lines to sort of draw your eyes, that'd be a big deal. And other little things is the back and load buttons originally. They were the same size. So the problem is, if you're trying to load a track, but you accidentally hit back because they're the same size, it's like, like all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, great, I didn't load that track on beat. That sucks. So now the load button is just massive. Like you can't miss it.
That's
also,
okay. Drew, I still press the knob thinking I'm going to load it, and it ends up going back anyways.
Hey, Drew, since we're talking about the back and the front of the mixer and the robustness of it, a lot of questions that I saw was, and maybe you can help answer this, why only one microphone input? Why not 2 on a mixer that's mapping out at $19.99 and could play up to 4 decks and could be used, by someone that may want more than one microphone?
Well,
space.
So, I mean, here's the thing. People love the S9. Like there are DJs who very much, said flat out that they didn't want us to change, or they didn't want us to take anything away from what they had on the S9. They just, but they also wanted more. And so it's like, all right, so on the rear panel, where are you going to fit it? You're not. So then, you can maybe remove the aux input, but, people use the aux input.
Yeah.
So then it's like, all right, so do you put on the front? All right, well, you got your mic echo, you got your auxiliary input, you got your mic echo volume, you got your switch, you got all your curves. It's like, oh, put it by the headphones. Well, then you remove a headphone jack.
Yeah.
Just get a mic that is
and
a
what- and
single
you know what?
bass with 2 outputs.
From my perspective, also think about it this way, because you'll hear people complain about why didn't they put 2 mic inputs, and then they'll buy it with the 2 mic inputs. Let's say it had it, you would have had to make it a 14-inch style, right? It's more like the DJM-900 sized if you were going to put 2 mics. And guess what they would need to do now? Buy a new case, So then I get the complaint about that, but I would assume that was the reason, like. And just so we can all be on the same page, it fits in your S9 case. If you're to buy an S11, it just drops right into the existing case that you have.
I think it's like a little bit taller, isn't it, Drew?
It is taller. Basically, as long as it's a taller case, it does fit. Like road case, it was originally an S9 road case, but it was a very tall one, and so yeah, it drops in. But you do need to make sure that there is enough front to back space. Side to side, exactly the same.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So I have a sales question, and this is probably more for Pulse because you're dealing with the end users more often. Is this going to replace essentially the S9, or will the S9 stay as a stocked item at a specific price and just be part of the family, or will the S9 eventually go away?
Yeah, no, the S9 is end of life, so it's going to. You'll probably find some dealers are selling it out. They're going to clear it out at lower prices, which is great for the consumer. But because it is 5 years old now, the S11's got better sound. It is the successor, so we'll see it. We'll see the S9 go away. It's
pretty funny if anyone went onto the marketplaces like the day after the S11 went out. S9s were pretty plentiful. For sale, so there's a good used marketplace out there.
And hey, that is a perfect opportunity for DJs who are not in the market for the S11 to get a really good mixer. The S9 is still solid.
Yeah,
very funny. But that's how people like it, when you start to see that immediately. Like take my money, All right.
Wait. I'm not done with my questions over here.
Sorry there, Jay. Oh wait, you know what, Jay?
Fine, do it.
Now you're in trouble. Throwback Thursday. I got a very special Throwback Thursday picture for everyone, and everyone knows I love Jay, but I like to make fun of him a little bit. And you know what? Sometimes he just does it to himself. So
I do.
Where's Jay Longobardo, everybody?
Oh my God!
Can you find Jay? So Jay,
the chick in the front with the long hair.
That's enough.
I stayed quiet the other day, but what's with the hands, man?
I don't know. I was 16 years old.
They posed them. Come on, give them a little bit of credit there.
All right, come on. Let me ask my legitimate, really thought out question here.
At least they put you in the middle.
At least they put me in the middle.
No. Actually,
I got more.
Don't. This is actually like kind of going along with Pulse's point for your you. I think it's actually a really huge testament to how well thought out S9 is, that like you can have a product that, again, this is literally a tour mixer, and I used it as my demo mixer, right? This was like a tour mixer from right after release. And there are people who literally have had the S9 since day one, and they're still finding joy out of it. One of my favorite things to do actually is there's this trick where if you hold down a button and turn the browse knob, you can change the effects on there. I still show people on day one that they can do that. Like a mixer that is so deep, you can have mixer that you use every single day, to make your money, and you're still finding features. That's nuts.
Ducking echo, huh? It's never ducking.
Yeah, ducking.
It's never ducking, Siri.
Well, you know what? Just on that same vein, I've done stuff with my DJM-T1 to show DJs that it's still still valid and still relevant. And how old is that mixer? Like that was our first, after the 707 and the 909, that was our first real battle mixer. And there are DJs who absolutely love that thing, and they're still asking, what can I do with it? What can I map it out to? How can I use this? And they may not be using it with Traktor. They might be using it with something else, but it is still a valid mixer. I've had guys contact me and say, I want to buy your T1. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
Drew, how you doing over there, Drew?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
In the zone,
Actually,
man.
point out-
All right.
Yo,
No, pull up
one
stuff for
thing
Ducking Echo.
I thought was really cool when I saw this feature was the scratch bank. So talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. All right. So Scratch Bank. All right. So I think men of a certain age, especially ones who DJ behind rappers, will appreciate this. In that, like, back in the day, if you were a DJ behind a rapper, your dream was to have an instant replay machine. And
360, man. Woof.
Yep. And this, in a lot of ways, kind of takes that concept and uses and bring and elevates it, because one thing that, like, I do it and a lot of other DJs do it, but it annoys me and other DJs when we see people do it. You actually load in your scratch samples and your drops and things into the sampler, and then you drag it up with your mouse when you're ready to use it, and it's really inefficient. So with Scratch Bank, like, let's say I'm playing a beat, right? So then I can actually go between all my different tracks and just have them stored on the pads. And the reason why I navigate so quickly, besides royalty things, was because of the fact that you can actually hot cue drum full tracks. Like, you can actually assign your hot cue point that it loads from. So or for that matter, if you want your scratch drop, you can have it loaded on there. And then when you want to go back to the song, just hit shift in the pad, and it goes back to the original track that was loaded to a deck. Or for that matter, if I hit hot cue,
Wait a minute. I have a question for this. When you do that scratch bank, is it accessing a part of the samples that you have loaded, or it's accessing the song position of the actual track on your computer somewhere?
Yeah, like basically the sample, the interface looks very similar to the sampler, but it's its own thing. Like, you can actually have the sampler and Scratch Bank side by side. And
okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. And so what you do is you actually choose the point in the track that you want to load from, to the point where you can actually have the same track loaded on two different hot cue points, and you can drum between those as well as other tracks. So not only can you do routines where you're hot cue drumming, within a track, you can actually say, I want a hot cue drum with the kick from this one, the snare from this one, what have you. It's awesome. And this was, and this one right here is, it's an exclusive feature, but this one is probably the most, inextricably, most tied to the Serato software. And, like, straight up, the fine folks in New Zealand just did such an amazing job with how well thought out it is. So, yeah.
So we've got a lot of comments, and I'll tell you something, Drew. You got some fans out there.
I don't know why.
Carlos Gallardo. Drew is a mad scientist.
He's a professor. He's a professor, not the
Pioneer DJ is super lucky to have Drew on their team.
Lies. But thank you.
No, absolutely.
Eric
I'm glad
Aguirre.
you're here.
Welcome, Eric. Yes, this S11 is a game changer for me. I think it's a game changer for a lot of people. And our friend Cleveland, Terry. What's happening, Cleveland? How are you? Darth Drew on the mic. We love it.
He was breaking up a bit earlier.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions, of course, for Drew, for Pulse, for myself, I'm not answering any questions on the S11.
I have so many questions.
Just Jay has a lot of questions. Anyone other than Just Jay have questions? We can take them down below. So just drop them down below, and we'll keep this moving along.
All right. While they're putting them, this is my last and final question, Drew.
Go for it.
I mean, you guys this year you've also released the CDJ-3000, which is a big deal too. I mean, it's not like you just dropped this mixer and nothing else. Yeah. So this 3000 is huge too. What can this mixer do specifically with the 3000 that previous mixers couldn't do? Is there a special integration between the 3000 and the 11?
There isn't, but that said though, at least with Rekordbox and eventually Serato. Oh, by the way, I want to say hi to Reishi just because of the fact that even though he's, he works for Apple, he also lives in Japan. So, and he actually lives, I think, like 20 minutes from our office at headquarters. So it's kind of interesting.
We're worldwide tonight. I love it.
I know, right? But yeah, with Rekordbox,
no joke. Look at that.
Like with a Rekordbox HID mode, you can actually have waveforms on the center as well as both screens, and it's kind of just going in perfect harmony. And actually, one really fun thing, and you notice I have, the ridiculous setup right here.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So there's the reason why I actually have 4 CDJs here, and it's not just to look pretty.
Drew, do you have renter's insurance?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Okay, good. Because I'd recommend it.
Yes, very much so. But yeah, with Rekordbox in HID mode, you can actually use 4 decks with all 4 virtual channels. So with Serato, just the way that dual deck works, basically you can control transport mode of decks 3 and 4. But you can't scratch with it. That's basically just to keep the integration with dual deck tight. Now with Rekordbox, on the negative side you don't have dual deck. On the positive side, if I want to actually have all 4 decks going, I can. And my personal mapping for Rekordbox, I actually have filter mapped out to the browse knob. So I can actually, be doing proper 4 deck mixing, with 4 CDJs with an S11, which you can't really see it, but this table, each CDJ stretches out about a ½ inch over the edge. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this on this table with the DJM-900 Nexus 2.
Right. So talking about the screens, I'm not a CDJ-2000 user. I'm more of an all-in-one controller. I have a DDJ-1000. But as you guys have been doing these demos, I'm noticing on each individual CDJ-3000, I can see the waveform of the other deck playing at the top. Was that a feature in the 2000 or is that exclusive to the 3000? Because that's pretty cool.
Oh, it's exclusive to the 3000. There's a new phase meter, or there's a new sync meter, which is the waveform. So yeah, it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, is that the track of the other deck playing along the top? I'm like, I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you can have the phase meter, or you can switch it over to the waveform from the master deck.
Talk about the fader, Drew, because I know there was an improved Magvel fader put in there in the S11.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and that's to a scratching and a performance DJ, the fader is everything. We learned that from our friends at InnoFader. So talk to us about it.
Well,
and this is compatible with InnoFader, right? If they ever wanted to switch it out.
Well,
I think Patrick said they're working on it.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny. That said, though, I don't know. Like,
let's hope.
I've talked to Patrick probably. I've talked to Patrick a lot recently. We're very good friends. I've known Elliot since 2003 or 2004. Something like that. I don't even know anymore. Jesus. So yeah, take that as you will. What up, guys? But yeah, either way, faders are very important. So a couple things that are improved on it. Number one, the actual the mounting of it. On the S9, the fader itself was actually mounted pretty well, but there was still a little bit of kind of like, lateral play. Like, if you're pushing it up, pulling it down, it could, had a little bit of bend. Whereas now the way it's set up, not only is it harder to actually move forward and back, but the actual break point against the faceplate is such that if you bend it too far forward, like, I don't know, like really are just kind of going nuts. The fader cap's actually going to hit the faceplate before it actually can bend.
We had complaints about that originally when the S9 first came out, that people were saying that the stem was binding against the faceplate. And of course, like we said, feedback. Yeah, we might not have caught it pre-production, but that's definitely something that we took into account when doing this one. So yeah, absolutely, it's a fantastic change.
That's right, Cleveland.
That's right. What about now? This was something I thought was incredible, because I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's using the same sound card as the DJM-900, right? So you guys have an improved 64-bit mixing, 32-bit DA converter in that mixer, right? So it's the best sound quality that you've had in sound card in a performance style mixer like this from DJM, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, what's really interesting is, even though it uses the same chips, like once you get into like sort of the dark arts of, mixer design, like, you can't just reuse the same audio interface as you used in a prior mixer, because of the fact that, like, a 900, like here, if I can, all right, let's see.
I can only imagine what else is underneath that setup. What else can you pull out of there?
It's like one of those magic Harry Potter bags. It's
I mean, it's like
unlimited.
It comes out with jewels every time.
Yep.
Zoom in on that frame, Justin. Go to his other camera angle.
I can't.
Drew has to change it.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah. So, like on a 900 Nexus 2, you have tons of space. So, for instance, if you are actually looking at the underside of it, like, the power supply is actually mounted, away from a lot of the audio components. You have space for that because, it's a 12-inch mixer and it's just massive. On the other hand, like, going back over to the S11, you don't have space for that. It's a lot more compact, even though it's a big boy for a scratch mixer, but it's still, it still needs to actually be battle ready. So,
word to the wise: never take one apart.
Yeah,
probably worse than an Apple computer.
Oh yeah. Well, so what they, so even though a lot of the components are the same, the engineering behind it and the voicing behind it, and even just like the difference between generations of prototype that we tried, you'd hear, like the first generation that we had here sounded incredible, and it's like, if that was the best they could do, then that would have been amazing. But yeah, the final product, it's, I don't know, I'd rank it up there with anything else that we make.
I'm excited. I haven't even had a chance to put my hands on it yet and hear it. I can't wait. We're gonna be getting some in at the end of this week. Very excited to finally put my hands on it. Talk about, what is beat effects? And I know there's 22 built-in effects in there, but you got a new effect, right? Beat effects.
Well, no. So, so the beat effects are from, or we're in the S9. What up, Prolifics? But let's see. Sorry, it's got to actually put away mixers now, so I can move back over to the setup. So there's a few different effects that were added that I think are dope. Just kind of go back over here, load up a scratch sample. All right. So number one, you have ducking echo. So this is really fun.
Ducking echo.
Yep. So now ducking echo.
It's the shot.
All right. So ducking echo. This is an echo that only it only echoes when the fader is closed. So So
Loved that one from the 909.
So the moment I lifted the fader, it's gone. So what that allows you to do is almost like double up your scratches a little bit. Like, or there's one stupid human trick that I've been doing a lot lately. I call it robo-ducking.
Anyway, but this thing is actually built into the back.
What's up? Did I hear somebody say something?
I don't know what that was.
No, I think he
I
glitched.
heard it too. I'm like, what?
I think he glitched out a little bit. No.
Oh, that was weird. All right, but yeah. Also, from mix standpoint, ducking echo is super dope because kind of going back to fun things that you can do with your mixer that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise. Let's see. Actually, I shouldn't. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, we don't want to lose what little royalties we're going to get on the stream. So. I can basically do doubles with the volume fader.
I love that. That's
Wait,
cool.
do that again. Do that again. Hold on a second. I wasn't following that right. Do it again.
All right, so
What are you doing over there, Jay?
so volume fader's dropped, right? You know, not cheating. The you don't see waveform going over here.
I'm like laser focused. Wait, I can't see it happening now.
Trying to have some fun here, Jay, right?
But then let's say I go over to 8 beats, right? So now it's
A little bit
looping.
like the old roll.
But then I'm just gonna go back over here. Sorry, just again, man, it's these royalties are kind of a pain in the butt. So then,
Well, those artists want to get paid, man.
now you can actually hear that what I punched in was inserted, so I can use it like that, or I can mix into the next track just by basically stabbing in.
That's so much like the old the infinite echo loop on an old like EFX 500.
Yeah.
It was so banging. That was one of their favorite tricks. So those little hidden
EFX
Easter
500
eggs.
right
Yeah.
there. I can't
Still
really
got
do this
mine.
with
Yeah,
my
there it
finger,
is.
but there it is. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
I
those
still
little
rock that
gems
bad boy.
You know, what's great is some of those things that were never intended for that kind of output, and you just like you come up with it and go, wow, there's this infinite loop that you can chop up and add stuff to, and that's one of those things. It was probably never designed for that purpose, but you can now go and do it, and it's like, oh, a world of opportunities.
Awesome.
Oh, absolutely not. But yeah.
Drew, we mentioned this before. This has the direct USB connections, right?
Yeah, but hey though, before you're skipping ahead.
Sorry.
Because
You got away from him.
because another
I'm
one from the
keeping an eye on the
909.
clock.
Yeah, sorry, another one that's actually from the 909, fader pitch.
Uh-oh.
You can actually transpose pitch with the fader, and if you even move it over right here to like, say like 1/4, you can actually mix in the two together and almost detune your song. So yeah. Then there's a bunch of others, but those are.
There's still more?
Oh yeah.
22.
Yo,
Drew, you need to do the video like I made. One of my original YouTube videos was all 50 of the DJM-909 effects and going through them. You need to do the same kind of thing with this one.
I remember video. Watch video. And the funny thing is, like, I've done so many artist trainings on this mixer, and sometimes they're like, oh yeah, it'll be like a half hour, it'll be really quick. I'm like, no, it won't be. It's always it's always 2-3 hours, and I still get texts at like 2 a.m. saying, hey, what about this? So yeah.
One of the things I think, Drew, that we've mentioned before, that sometimes people here in the States don't understand with someone like yourself and Pulse having to work back and forth with where this is actually manufactured and designed in a lot of ways in Japan, they forget about the language barrier that you have to go through, right? So that's something that you have to deal with, right? A lot when you go through these processes with Japan and with development and planning this product with everyone on the team.
Yeah, when and Pulse has been doing this longer than anyone, so he can attest to this. Like, the team, it's hard, but the team in Japan, they're awesome people, and I consider many of them to actually be pretty good friends of mine at this point, which is just crazy because some of them I met only once, some of them I haven't met at all in person. But you talk to these people so much, but then what happens is something that is so clear and obvious to you, it it means nothing to them just because you don't have words that mean sometimes there's not a word for that in the language on both sides.
Ducking echo doesn't translate.
No. Well, it probably wasn't ducking. That's a serious
not when you get the first translation and it's not what you thought it would be.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, that was one from the now and then, so that was probably from them. But either way though, it's when you're but what it kind of comes down to is being very clear in your language, and for that matter, not talking like myself and not being so verbose and actually being succinct.
It must be hard.
Yeah. But also being patient and I don't know, just really working with them, because at the end of the day, you get out of it exactly what you give, and I know just from working with other companies, where you talk to, it's not something I hear much here, but a lot of times when you talk to companies that have offshore offices, and they're like, oh, they don't listen. And it's well, maybe you should spend more time thinking about how you said it.
I can attest to that 100%.
Yeah.
You're very right. And there's a big misperception in not on our side of the industry, but on the end user side, that product manufactured in Asia don't always have a certain level of quality. And I could tell you that the Japanese people, they take the quality of what they build and the quality of sound reproduction, not even the hardware that they're making as far as what you're sitting in front of, but how it's reproduced into a sound system, into a space, more serious than probably the rest of the world. And I mean,
even Italy?
Well, let me tell you, the company that I work for is owned by an Italian family in Milan. And last year it was bought by Alpine, which is a Japanese company. And they have taken our company to the next level. And we already thought we were a superior sound company. And they're like, oh, you guys have no idea. And they'll literally take it to the next level. And it's we need to squish that perception that certain Asian manufacturing isn't where it is, because you guys are pretty much at the top tier of it. So.
Well, it's true. I mean, we certainly, when we had early Pioneer DJ stuff was manufactured in Japan, we would actually get customers when we changed manufacturing locations saying, I want the one that was made in Japan. But what they don't realize is that we're not, a lot of manufacturers will contract out at a company, at a factory that produces a bunch of other stuff. Most of the factories we're working with, we actually have so much oversight on their production line that it's almost as if we owned the factory and ran the factory, so that we have very good control over the way it's produced and tested. And yeah, I mean, any production line, any electronics, you're going to have things slip through. So, if you get a product and it's not quite 100%, we're sorry, please let us know. But yeah, the things that are made in Malaysia, things that are made in China. You look on the back and it has that tag on it. Don't let that be a deterrent to you, because
I say that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reason being is you made a big point though. It's the manufacturer. It's their involvement in the manufacturing process. It's not where it's manufactured. It's do you have somebody that's living there? Do you have somebody that's translating the language properly? Do you have somebody quality controlling it? And it doesn't matter. And if you invest the money in that, where it's being made is almost irrelevant. And Pioneer has always been at the top of that. So
Pioneer's out of Malaysia though, right? That's where the factory is, not China.
There's a couple. Yeah.
Couple.
Yeah. About, I'd say 2/3 of the products, maybe more, are done in the Malaysian factory.
Oh boy, all the comments got lit up. All right. So obviously we talked about this earlier, but this is pretty much the last thing to kind of mention about the mixer. And then Drew, we have a request for you. We learned today that it's plug and play with Serato record box and Jay. Virtual DJ.
Yeah, oh yeah, virtual DJ.
and that's pretty much the list of features that I wanted to go through and that were highlighted by you guys over there and were something to talk about. Was there anything else that we missed as far as the mixer that you want to point out? Because if not, I have a request for you, Drew.
Yeah, dual deck, dude. You're missing out.
Wait, I have a question. I think a lot of the end users will ask too, especially because there's Apple's coming out with so many products and there's so many different hardware variations with Apple products. Windows is always doing updates. What is like a minimum recommendation that you would tell DJs that they need to have as far as their operating machine, their laptop, to run this mixer at the best it could run? Any operating system, a certain, processor chip, because Justin and I were actually going to do a show on, the laptops that people are using. So they're going to want to know, because not everybody's using Rekordbox with a stick. They're using a laptop. So.
Well, I've actually been really pleasantly surprised at how gentle the S11 is for a lot of systems. One of my friends actually uses.
I love that word.
Yeah, like he actually uses it with a 2013 MacBook Pro, and even though there are issues with its overall frame rate and such, it actually runs. I'm kind of shocked. That said, though, my two systems are i7s, PC and a MacBook. The PC is a quad core i7, and I get insanely low latency. My MacBooks that I use are a 2019 and a 2017 15-inch, 16-inch. Both of them are great.
My rule of thumb is 5 years. If it's within 5 years, and that's generally with the operating systems as well. It's been about 5 years. So if you look on the support pages, it's like 10.13 or Windows 8 and 10. The number of people come in and like, yeah, I'm using Windows 7. It's like, dude, you got to upgrade both your software and your hardware.
Yeah, true.
It may run, but it won't be great.
My man. So we have a request from your friend Carlos, and I think this is a great way to kind of end this and kind of end on a high note. We just talked about all these amazing features. Can you do a little performance for us and kind of show us all of them in one shot? Because we got Carlos here. He wants to hear Drew bust a scratch from your friend Prolifics. So you can put in the spot, and you got to show your skills to our audience. But let's highlight, and if you happen to use a skill or a feature, talk about it while you're doing it, so people understand what's happening.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to do dual deck, but I'm going to be busting some cuts with it. So I guess everyone's going to be happy, hopefully.
Let's do
I'm
it.
going to do a magic trick, and I'm also going to take away your royalties. I'm sorry.
If we get kicked off at this point, we'll be all right.
And Cleveland, yes, I am Canadian.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
So now? So yeah, I just went from 2 decks to 1 deck, and then did a 4-deck beat juggle.
Instant doubles. Beautiful.
Love it.
But also, but also with dual deck, so 4 decks, and just so we can do a regular scratch.
So we can't call it instant doubles anymore, can we? It has to be called like instant quads.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I like that.
Actually, shouts out to my coworker Chris. When I sent him a little video on chat of it, and he actually was like, "That's instant quads, man." So yeah, shouts to Chris for being the first person in the company to call it that.
Hashtag don't skip leg day.
Hey, Justin, I'm going to give away a shirt because you were big on giving a shirt. Anyone in the comments that can guess Pulse's first name from the beginning of the episode will get a shirt. How about that?
Did I change my name at the beginning of the episode?
Yeah.
No, we want to see who was here the whole time.
First person that can remember. I almost said
there was somebody
first name.
There was somebody in the chat with my name as well. So
and yes, he is from Canada. Hey, he's drinking a Molson before. Too.
No, come on. I'm drinking something better than that. At a local brew, we go micro, but this is 6%. I don't know if it'll show up as 6%.
Wow.
Ooh, couldn't even on the edge. 6%.
Couldn't even tell.
Canada's letting up the law a little bit, huh?
When we're off the air,
if you want a sticker or a shirt, you still have to give the name.
Here's the question that everyone wants to know the answer to. This is the real question. I have a DJM-S9. Why do I need to sell it and buy a DJM-S11?
Well, you don't need to do anything because the DJM-S9 is still a spectacular mixer. That said, though, I think that really it comes down to the fact that the S9 is a really great battle mixer with open format feature, but the S11 is it's truly an everything mixer. If you want to use it strictly for battling, you can. It's awesome, and you're going to be very happy. If you want to use it for Red Bull 3-style set, you can. It's amazing. If you want to use it for an open format set, you can. It's amazing. If you want to do just nothing but smooth house blends, it's one of the most creatively inspiring mixers that I've ever used. And I'm not just saying that because I work for the company. If I didn't work for the company, I would sell everything I own just to get this because of the sheer amount of joy that, using this and testing has given. So yeah, there you go.
What do you think, Pulse?
I've got an S9. I've used it a number of times. I'm not a scratch DJ by any means. I'm the old school techno drum and bass. I love a long mix. I love to drag things out. And
yeah, that's me.
For me, 4 channels are great, but I seldom use them. I just love, for me, it's more the other things that are on the mixer. But the S9 takes what a 900 was and is like, oh, by the way, you've got pads, you've got all these, the paddles for the effects. It's a lot of fun to play on. The S11 takes that and goes beyond. It's got so much built in that even if somebody asked me the other day, I'm never planning on using this with software. I'm just a straight up turntable DJ or CDJ DJ. What is the benefit to me upgrading? I'm like, there's still a lot going for this mixer. Even if you never touch the software, it's just so much fun to play on. It would be worth considering. But the S9 is so solid. I don't want to tell people to sell it. Unless you're going to go buy an S11 right out of the way.
It's also a bigger jump. You get more features. And like you said before, I'm not a scratch or battle DJ either. And I look at this and I'm like, I love all these features. But there is a price point that I will set on a product that I'm going to buy. And the S9 covers it all if I was doing it. But if I wanted to elevate my performance or even just, for me, I kind of do one trick and then I try to perfect it. But now I would take that mixer and say, let me take that trick I perfected and do that smooth echo or do this, instant doubles like what Drew was saying before. And it's just, you could buy it. You could buy the S9 just to be the mediocre guy you were. Or you could buy the S11 to take it to the next level, and that's how it is with any new technology. So
absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyone have anything else for us? Any questions? Any more questions? Oh, yeah. By the way, Jay happened to say he's using a 2013 MacBook Air with Mojave and i5, and the S11 runs very well. And where he lives, it's 145 degrees
Yeah.
And
all the time.
I see this going on. I'm like, Jay, why do you still live there?
Who throws a party outside at 145
it's 150 degrees. There's fires. There's this. There's that.
It's about 90 degrees higher than I'm comfortable.
Have you all tuned into his streams where he streams from his front lawn?
Driveway,
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but it actually does look beautiful out there. I think he has reason. Just saying.
Yeah, but you don't need a barbecue. Just cook on the sidewalk. I mean,
yeah,
crazy.
Perfect. Well,
I don't have a barbecue.
Drew, Pulse, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, and Drew, thank you so much for reaching out and how can I help you? That's what Drew said to me. How can I help? I want to help.
That might be our new tagline: learn, grow, succeed, and how can we help?
How can we help? I mean, we're trying to push this industry forward. Pioneer is like a pillar in this industry. They're like, top of the food chain when it comes to it. So we were so honored to have you guys with us today. We're so appreciative of it. Thank you to Pioneer DJ. Thank you to everyone over there and Hector. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And Jay, you have anything else you want to say?
I'm just honored to be on these calls with these guys. I wanted to say it earlier, but I wanted to say this is kind of like a little family reunion right here. I mean, I have history with these guys. We have inside jokes. We joke around all the time. I mean, I'm on a different end of manufacturing and DJing, but you guys have always shown me love. And Justin, I just appreciate what you do for me. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to thank our audience. Our audience was amazing tonight. Lots of comments. Rishi, thank you so much. Cameron Reeve, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Friday, my friend. Friday, they're coming in. And if anyone is interested in the S11, drop comments down below here. We will hook you up. And we really appreciate you tuning in tonight. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back with another episode very soon. Drew, Pulse, thank you guys so much. And really great job, Drew, with everything that you did here today. Pulse as well. You're looking fantastic, my friend. Woo. Keep it up. And remember, if all else fails,
find me at the Oscars.
Yeah.
By the way, I love how Pulse is the button up and is looking all professional, and then meanwhile I'm wearing my rock t-shirt and pink hair. I look like the biggest of ever.
This is what happens after 20 years of trade shows.
No, but this is what we want to see. We want to see the corporate guy that's going to shoot straight with us, and then we want to see the artist that created it, and we're like, yeah, I get it.
The front end and the back end right here. I love it.
Yeah, Pulse is the least corporate person I know, and we debate about whether if he's a Canadian me or I'm the American him.
Ooh, it's true.
And I think that is really cool, Jay. And you mentioned that you and I also and everyone here on this stream tonight. We've all been doing this since the 90s. We've all been doing this for a long time and been in this industry one form or another. So it's great to get together and hang like this and talk about cool gear and really, get it from one of the people that was helping to plan this whole thing. So really appreciate the view that you gave us. And, we always call this like a hangout show. We're not here just to go through some boring specs, and we really want to hear the behind the scenes stuff and what DJs really want to know. So thank you guys for your time. Jason Longobardo, we appreciate you as always. I think you have one hair in there that's not gray. I think I see one. I'm not sure.
His kids are still young. There's lots of time.
At least it's all there. I'm happy with it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, though, Jay's actually the person who inspired me to dye my hair in the first place.
I'm gonna dye my hair.
That's awesome.
What color should I dye my hair? Gray?
Because all right. So Jay, he dyed his hair blue with his kid. And
I just did it the other day too.
Exactly, and so I was like, you know what? The first time he did, I was like, you know what? All right, screw it. I'm doing this. So yeah, now I've had pink hair for 8 months.
Yo, Drew, Pulse, did you guys know that Jason's a famous DJ and he opened up one time for one of the most famous rock bands of all time? Hanson?
Oh, very nice.
It was
next time I'm on, I'll tell you about the time I opened up.
Waiting on the callback.
Oh, by the way, my boy, Brandon, Blaine, where are you?
He was on tonight. He was
What's
watching.
up, buddy? We want to give him a shout out. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Drew, Pulse, Just Jay, and his name is Christian, everybody.
Christian.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. DJ's Guru family, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon, okay? Take care, everyone.
Hey,
Peace.
I want a t-shirt.
Everyone wants a t-shirt. I'm sending them out. You got it. Take care, guys. Thank you.
You too. Later.
Thanks.